I have a dog who's been with me for about 10 years. He's small, loves to eat, and while he might not always lie down on my command, he will legally offer a paw if I have a treat. I first met him when I was 9, so I spent almost half of my life with him, and yet many times I still wonder how he sees the world. What does our family look like through his eyes? What is it like to always look up at everything, or to move through life on 4 legs instead of 2? What's even more fascinating is that he responds to sounds and scents in a completely different way than we do. These differences are intriguing, of course, but they also highlight something bigger. Even though we share the same place at the same time, I can also say that me and my dog live in entirely different realities. This is because his world and mine are shaped differently by the limits of our own perception and how we behave according to this. Looking at this more objectively, this isn't just about me and my dog anymore. It actually reflects a broader idea that the way we perceive the world determines how we behave. Our actions aren't solely driven by instinct or experience, but also by the limits of what we fundamentally can sense and respond to. For example, even when my dog and I go on a walk together, our experience would be entirely different. I might remember the wide open sky, the way he sniffed the grass, and how everything in a scene fits together as a whole. But for him, the walk could be a series of scattered moments. Maybe the smell of another dog, the patches of the grass that caught his attention, or a familiar spot he always stops at. He reacts to the things that I don't even notice because his world is driven by smell, while mine is mostly guided by the sight. So we can say that how far we can think determines how far we can behave. Our thoughts drive our actions, and our action reflects the limits of our own cognition. And today, I want to specifically focus on this core connection between cognition and behavior and how it shapes what we can achieve as human beings. Humans have been always exceptional when it comes to the connection between cognition and behavior. Some might say that the language is the one that makes us unique compared to the other species, but what truly distinguishes us isn't just our ability to vocalize. It's how our cognitive abilities transformed that vocalization into a powerful tool for communication and innovation. To understand this, imagine human cognition as the soil, the foundation that nurtures everything we do. Vocalization stemming from our cognitive abilities serve as roots, enabling us to articulate complex ideas and emotions. A study from Chapman University's Economic Science Institute once proposes that while our primates use around 50 vocalizations, human beings have over 100,000 words, which allows us to connect and share the knowledge. This talented use of language further leads to the communication networks, which can be represented as trunk and the branches of this tree, crossing all over the world and connecting over 4.9 billion people. And finally, the fruits of this tree is the advancement of our knowledge. And sometimes, just like fruit falls back to nourish the soil, the knowledge that we produce feeds back into our cognition, creating a cycle of growth and progress. For the past 500,000 years, humans have expanded the range of our cognition in this way. And yet, in spite of this advance, the basic framework of how we think and act has pretty much the same. No matter how far we evolve from our primate ancestors, we still need to use some form of actions like gestures, speech, or movement to get our thought across. Even though our way of communicating has grown from simple sounds to complex languages, the core idea remains that our cognition needs to be expressed through behavior. However, as we produce more and better fruits of that knowledge, we're now getting into a new turning point where the traditional link between cognition and behavior is not just evolving like that. It's actually completely reimagined. At first, it might sound like a science fiction, right? But let's lean into that for a moment. Imagine this. You're sitting in a chair, your body relaxed, and moving. But somewhere else in the room, a robotic arm pours a glass of water. Not because you moved your hand, not because you spoke, but because you've thought about doing it. No speaking, no movement, just a pure thought becoming an action. This is the reality that is shaped by something called brain-computer interfaces, or BCIs, as you might have heard of as Neuralink or Elon Musk project. Normally and always, our brain speaks in electrical pulses, millions of them firing between neurons every second. When you move your hand, for example, the signals fired from motor cortex travel down the spinal cord and reach your muscles to trigger movement. When you speak, those signals fire from language centers somewhere else in the brain, like broca's area, to your muscles in the jaw and throat. So that means every action starts as a signal and every word begins as a spark. And this is exactly where the brain-computer interface steps in. It intercepts those signals before they ever reach to your body. Instead of traveling through the nervous system to your muscles, those signals are directly picked up from your brain and rerouted straight into a machine, like robotic arm, cursor on a screen, or even an artificial voice can be. In other words, BCI bypasses the body entirely. What once required movement and speech is now becoming possible through a thought alone. While BCI still have a long way to go before becoming a mainstream, their potential to redefine human behavior is immense. If this technology becomes widespread, it will completely change how we understand about the human behavior, shifting it from physical actions to thought-driven interactions. And it's not just about convenience. BCI would also assign a new meaning to the concept of action for people with physical disabilities, allowing them to regain actions once thought impossible, like moving and speaking, and offering entirely new ways to interact with the world around them. And BCI itself is not the end of the story. Taking this a step further, scientists today are not only separating cognition from the physical actions, but they're now separating the brain itself, the very organs behind our thoughts, from the body. One of the most fascinating breakthroughs in this area is the development of brain organoids. Brain organoids are tiny, three-dimensional clusters of neurons grown from stem cells. They mimic some function of the human brain, giving us a glimpse into a brain activity at a cellular level all outside the body. Then why does this matter for understanding cognition? Traditionally, studying brain has relied on animal models or post-mortem cells, which can't fully capture the living dynamics of neural interactions. But with brain organoids, scientists can now observe how neural networks form, how the brain disorders develop, and how the brain encodes memories and behaviors all outside the body. As this technology advances, it opens new possibilities for personalized medicines like testing treatments for Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. But more importantly, it challenges us how we think about the cognition itself. Because these organoids process thoughts and form connections, but they don't require behavior to express them. Cognition in this case is independent, existing outside of our body. This is shifting the very definition of human cognition, showing that our cognitive abilities can evolve beyond physical actions and into new realms of influence. Of course, we have to acknowledge that as powerful as these technologies are, they still face serious challenges, not just ethical, but scientific as well. Many of their promises remain experimental, and the road to making them reliable, safe, and truly transformative will likely take time. However, when you think about it, this isn't the first time we've faced questions like this. Not long ago, flying across the globe, editing the human genome, or video calling someone on the other side of the world felt distant, or maybe even impossible. But they became everyday realities now. Progress does not always happen overnight, but with time and curiosity, our imagination has a way of becoming a reality. So in this sense, the real significance of technologies like BCIs and brain organoids is not just whether they're going to be fully succeed in the future. It's that their potential is already unfolding step by step, quietly reshaping the boundaries of what we believe is possible. And that's exactly where the science becomes most powerful. Science has a power to make our heart race by simply showing us that even things like this can be explained scientifically. And it inspires us to imagine a bigger future. What I've shared with you today is just a small glimpse, a few possibilities among many. But even these are enough to stir something deep within us. If neuroscience and technologies continue to evolve, Maybe one day I'll be able to understand how my dog sees the world and how he sees me, what was going through his mind. And even if he couldn't show it through actions, was there something he wanted to say to our family? We may be also able to break down the boundaries that we've drawn by defining things like human behavior and human cognition and gain a broader viewpoints that integrates both other species' perspectives and ours. And so the things that we've only imagined will one day become a reality, and in that reality, we'll be able to imagine even greater possibilities. This is the moment of magic being shining, when we unravel the connection between cognition and behavior with the key of science. So as we move forward, one question remains: if our understanding of cognition changes, if science gives us new ways to sense, to connect, and to respond, how will our behavior evolve? And more importantly, as new possibilities open up, how will we choose to grow and who will we choose to become? Through the advancements in cognitive science and technologies, I look forward to the days when we will communicate in ways that are different from today. Thank you.